Today we're going to do a wax resist of some apples. First, you're going to need a stencil of an apple, a piece of paper, and a pencil. Use your stencil to draw 3 apples on your paper. Make sure that your first apple is all the way up in the corner before you trace it. Make sure to hold that stencil down so it doesn't move on you as you're tracing with your pencil. The next apple should be at the bottom of your paper. Make sure to get it as close as you can to that first apple to make sure that you have enough room for all 3. If you don't position them just right, you might not have enough room for 3 apples for your drawing. Once you're done tracing all 3 apples, sign your name in the bottom of the corner of your paper. Next, use a black oil pastel to trace your apples. Trace right on top of your pencil lines. Now, if you make a mistake and go outside the lines, it's okay because we're making a collage out of this, which means we're going to be cutting these apples out. So if you make a mistake and go outside of the lines, it's no big deal. We'll just cut it off. Nobody will ever know. Once you've traced all 3 apples, use a brown oil pastel to make some stems on your apples, and then you have a choice if you want to add some leaves on your apples as well. Leaves can be an oval shape or a football shape. It's up to you. Once your apples have been traced, it's time to paint. You need a dog bowl with some water in it, a paintbrush, and some tempera cakes. Tempera cakes come in little circle type discs of paint. They need to be wet in order to work on your paper. So when you need to paint, you need to get your brush all wet in the water and swirl it around in your paint. Now, apples are either yellow, green, or red. I chose to do red first. I swirled my brush about 20 times. The more you swirl, the brighter your paint will be. If you don't swirl enough, your paint will be really dull. Start painting your apple red that you want red. Uh-oh, I forgot something. See, even art teachers make a mistake. I forgot to add a highlight to each of my apples. To make a highlight, you'll need an oil pastel, a white one, and I just want you to draw a curved line or a rectangle at the top of each of your apples. Make sure it's on the same side of each apple. This is where the sun or the light is hitting your apple and making it shine. Now, we used an oil pastel because when we paint over the oil pastel, the water and the oil won't mix, and it will make the shine show up even if you paint over top of it. I wanted my apple to look like it was popping out at me and like it was a sphere or a fat apple. So what I did was I made it dark on one side with my red, and then on the opposite side of my apple is the highlight. So the highlight is on one side and the darkest part of my apple or the reddest part is on the complete opposite side. Now I'm going to paint my next apple. My yellow was super yucky from the last person that used it. So what I had to do was clean it out. I just rubbed the brush over top of the paint to make it all clean again, and then I rinsed my brush off in the water. If you do that a couple of times, it cleans the paint and makes it perfect for you to use. So just keep rinsing and wiping your brush in your paint, and it will be all brand new again. Like I said, apples can be yellow, red, or green. If you want to make them all red, make them all red. If you want to make 2 red and 1 yellow, you can. Or if you want to make them all green, it is totally up to you to decide what color of apples are on your picture. For my green apple, most of the time green apples have yellow in them too. So I used green on the bottom where it was the darkest. And then I mixed yellow with my green on my paper. Now make sure you rinse your brush in between the yellow and the green, otherwise you'll end up messing up the paint for the next person to use. So you can mix yellow and green on your paper to make a green apple. All done. Time to let them dry. Next, we're going to cut out our apples for our collage. A collage is when you take several pieces of paper and put them together to make a finished picture. So right now, I'm going to cut out each of my apples. Be careful when you're cutting and make sure you cut right on the line and turn your paper as you cut with your scissors. It's really difficult to cut out the stem and the leaf, so take your time around that part and do it very carefully. Make sure to throw away your scraps in the trash can when you're finished. Now that apple I cut out perfectly. Let me show you what happens when you accidentally cut part of your apple off. So cut out your apple. Here I am cutting just as normal, but when I get to the stem and the leaf, I accidentally cut the leaf and the stem off. And it's okay to do that. We can fix it. It's not ruined. So here I'm cutting along and oops, I forgot to cut my stem and my leaf. I cut them right off. It's okay, don't panic. We will save those and add them to our apple later. Cut those out too so you have them, and save them in a special spot so they don't get thrown away. Don't forget to throw away your scraps. Make sure your apples are in a spot on your table where they're not going to get messed up or thrown away. Next, we're going to make our background. You'll need a bottom to your background, which is a smaller piece of paper, and the actual background that everything's going to be glued onto. So it's going to be like my purple paper is the table that my apples are sitting on. You'll need a glue stick to glue the smaller piece of paper onto the bigger paper. Flip it over and add as much glue stick as you can. Go all around, putting plenty of glue stick on. Make sure it gets all over, otherwise it won't stick very well. When you flip it over, make sure the corners line up at the bottom of your paper and press it down firmly. Next, it's time to decorate our background with some patterns. Patterns can be made with lines, shapes, and colors. We're going to use oil pastels to make our patterns. I want you to make two different patterns, one on the top and one on the bottom of your paper. For my pattern, I did a straight line, wavy line, a straight line, and then a wavy line. And my pattern is diagonal. You can make your pattern going across or up and down. And you can make whatever pattern you want. After I did some wavy and straight lines, I added some polka dots. It's kind of hard to see in my video, but I added the polka dots to the wavy lines. It just added a little bit more color. Make sure you do a different pattern on the bottom half of your paper. I did stripes for mine. Don't forget to sign your name in your favorite color on the bottom right-hand corner. Now it's time to glue our apples on. Place them before you glue them down. The middle one is in the front, so it should actually be in front of the other two apples in the background. Make sure you apply plenty of glue stick to each of the apples. Glue the one in the background first and press and hold it. I should have done the green apple, but instead I did the red apple, and then I tucked the green one, when I got it glued, behind the red one. Now you'll notice my stem is still hanging out there on my paper. I need to put some glue on him and just glue it right on my paper. Nobody will ever know that I cut it off by accident if I glue it on right where it's supposed to be. So I stick it behind the red apple, and then I put my stem right where it's supposed to go. Make sure everything sticks down really well. And there's one last thing we have to do. We need a black oil pastel. We're going to make the apples look like there's a shadow underneath them. The black oil pastel is going to be the shadow. So, oh, I forgot. I added a little bit more highlight to that one. It wasn't showing up very well. If you didn't add highlights and you want to add more to yours, you can do it now. But here I am kind of shading with a little bit of black, and then I smudge it with my finger to blend it and smooth it out to make it really, really soft. Don't those look like shadows underneath my apples? You don't need a whole lot, just a little will go a long way. But smear it around with your finger. You can always wash your hands later.